Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Finally.
The Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast.
Who's come back? Give me a hell yeah.
Body back to another episode of the Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. Adam, we're doing another one. We just done one yesterday. Here we are doing another episode. How are you, my friend? It's good to see you 24 hours on from when I last saw you.
Feel like I haven't moved from the seat.
No, you right, mate. We're churning it out. We're churning out. Adam, yesterday's episode went down like a storm.
Did.
And we've had some amazing guests so far since we've come back and done the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. We might have outdone ourselves today, Adam. You are the man for intros. You are the ring announcer of the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast, my friend. Who have we got today?
Well, we have somebody who, if you go to the Inside the Rope tours, you will see fairly often. I have numerous conversations with her whilst queuing up to meet their stars that they've had on, including the likes of Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Jim Cornette. I'm not going to carry on. Paul Heyman. You'll also find her doing some Scottish independent shows, more like some ring announcing and bits and pieces. And more importantly, I think it's 63 or 64 weeks sober now. So please welcome to our podcast, the one and only Fiona from Inside the Ropes. Good evening.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Fiona, thank you so much for joining us. You don't know how pleased we are to have you on. We are big fans of Inside the Ropes. We are big fans of all you guys do. Love the magazine, love the shows that you guys put on, Fiona. Honestly, it's incredible. While we get started, we're always interested to see how people got for the love of wrestling. And, you know what I mean? It's kind of, when I do all these podcasts and I've got female mates who like wrestling, and some of my other friends are like, girls like wrestling? I mean, how dare they? How dare they? Fiona, I know, Fiona, how did you get into before we get into how you got into the inside of the ropes and everything like that, how did you even fall in love with the amazing sport of professional wrestling that we all love?
So I am a child of the late 70s, and basically my gran is entirely to blame for it. I used to watch World of Sport with her when my mum and dad would pack me off down to hers for the weekend, Saturday afternoon. And that was it, really. That's what she watched, and I was staying at her house, so that's what I watched. And I kind of remember it from a really, really young age. My parents at the time didn't have cable or anything. It was before Sky B and all that came along. We literally had Channel 1, Channel 2, Channel 3, that was it. And then Channel 4 came along, and then Sky B came along, and probably several years later when I was, I don't know what year we're talking, but I went to go and visit my friend along the road, and I was walking through the living room to go up the stairs to her house, and her brother was sitting on the sofa, and I just happened to turn around and see these blue leggings fly through the air, and I was like, what is this? And it was Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels and the Rockers, and I was like, whoa, hold on a minute. I was like, okay, I remember this. And I might have been about 11 or 12 at the time, maybe slightly older. She's upstairs. I'm like, I'll be up later. And I sat and watched it, and I've kind of, ever since then, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. So my gran and then them. Blame them.
Oh, wow, no, they're fair play to them. Fair play to them. What were your earliest memories of just watching wrestling? Like you say, you mentioned the Rockers there. Who were you drawn to as growing up, getting into wrestling?
I've always been a fan of the Rockers, always. I think mainly because they're probably the first kind of modern era wrestlers after Big Daddy and all of that I really saw, and I was like, these guys are cool. And at the time I had a crush on Marty, not going to pretend that I didn't. So Marty was my favorite. Sorry, Shawn, I love you, but it was Marty. I kind of fell in love with Ric Flair as well. If you were to ask me who one of my favorite wrestlers are, I would probably say it was him. I just loved the robes. I loved the whole spectacle of him coming out and just looking like a superstar, basically. Because I always thought he did. I love the kind of old school, really loud, out there characters. So your Macho Mans, your Ultimate Warriors. I was really drawn to the really kind of big characters at a younger age.
Before we get into all things inside the ropes and your life in wrestling, we always ask all our guests, before I hand over to Adam, What do you think of the current product from WWE, AEW? I know you are a huge NWA fan. I've never watched so much NWA in my life as to do some research for this show. What do you think of the current product and the wrestling that is put out now? Because there's a lot of content for people to watch. I get it from my friends all the time. You've got WWE, you've got AEW, you've got NXT, you've got Impact, you've got NWA, you've got Ring of Honor now. They're up to episode number 4. What do you think of the current product that's put out there?
I'm going to put this out there and be completely honest. I watch wrestling, but other than NWA regularly, I don't watch I don't watch WWE regularly every week. I don't watch AEW every week. I don't watch ROH. I dip in and out. I'm not a fair weather fan. I kind of keep track of what's going on, but full-time job, 3 kids, I don't have time. That's the bottom line. I don't have time to sit and watch a 2-hour episode of Raw on a Monday, and then 2 hours of AEW on a Wednesday, and then 2 hours of this on a Friday, and 2 hours of that. I just don't have the time. So I tend to get tidbits from the internet. So people I follow on Twitter, for example, or maybe post stuff, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting, I'll go and look at it.
It's kind of like where wrestling is anyway, isn't it? Now it is all based on, you know, how many times you see WWE say, oh, it's got 5 million hits on YouTube and things like that. So we've gone beyond the days of, well, not even having the internet and being able to look and find and be surprised when, oh my God, what's he doing on here? Oh, we've got to go on there because they've done an interview on YouTube and it's now based onto an hour storyline that started on Raw next week.
Yeah. I love the fact that there's so much choice out there. So it's not WWE and that's it. There's a whole wealth of different companies that are out there that are putting their product out there. And I love the fact that if I want to go and watch a bit of Lucha Libre, I can go and find it. If I want to watch some random American independent organization, I can go and look at that. But if I want the glitz and glam of AEW or WWE, it's there. It's there for me. So I like being able to dip in and out and go and see a bit of this and a bit of that.
Just quickly, how did the love of NWA start? A lot of people seem to forget NWA was like the original. When you talk about it, and I mean, if you know your wrestling history before WWF, the NWA was, and I'm going back to maybe the territory days, the biggest territory in wrestling history. And I know people that are listening to this, and maybe giving my age away now. NWA was the one. It was the one all the big stars wanted to be. And you mentioned Ric Flair earlier, great NWA champion. NWA was the main product in the United States of America and eventually ended up going worldwide. That's your main passion. How did the love of that? Because it's not a promotion even now. It's a promotion that we all know. And any wrestling fan, you can go and have a conversation about the NWA. You can sit down and talk to them. But they're back now. They've got a great team. I've recently, as soon as you were coming on the show, Adam's like, Andy, go and do some research on the NWA. I'm like, righto, mate. I'm on YouTube. I'm like, this is really good. The product that they're putting out is incredible. So how did we talk about WWE and AEW and all that all the time? But your big passion is NWA. We know you traveled abroad to see it. We know you how did that love start? Was it, like you say, Ric Flair was one of your idols? He was NWA.
He was NWA. In all fairness, I've only really, again, didn't have access to a lot of extra TV and stuff, and obviously YouTube's relatively modern, so back from the old territory days you didn't really get a chance to watch it. It's more the modern era, so a way back when, let me think, in about 2018, we were part of MediaCon in Manchester, and Nick Aldis happened to be there at the time with the £10 of gold, which he had recently, just a couple of months before, had won from Tim Storm. And he was at MediaCon doing an appearance and doing some interviews with Dave Lagana, who was involved with the NWA at the time. Now, I'd known Nick before then. We'd worked with Nick on an Inside the Ropes tour. I've known Nick for years. But Lagana was kind of somebody new to me. I'd heard of him. Obviously, he'd been at WWE and things like that. But I had a really, really good conversation. And they were like, oh, you should check it out. Have a look and see what we're doing. We're Billy's taken it over, and I just kind of fell into it from there. So it's more kind of the modern Lightning One era that I've been kind of following, as opposed to the more historical side of it. But the more I've gotten into it and been able to kind of go, all right, okay, I want to go and see a Louis Thez match, I want to go and see a Buddy Rogers match, or I want to go and see an old Ric Flair one or a Ricky Steamboat one. So I've kind of gone back that way and gone down a kind of YouTube rabbit hole for a lot of the older matches.
Yeah, that's
So
once you go down a YouTube rabbit hole, 4 hours later, you're still sitting there. Just me most nights. It's either YouTube or TikTok with me. So Adam, anyway, I digress. Go on, Ads.
Okay, yeah, just to add on NWA, and I know we'll probably tap into it later. I always feel it's got that. Do you remember WCW Worldwide that used to be on?
Oh yeah, God.
Used to very much. I know that it was the same, and it's kind of like the same NWA stage they used to have with the interview bit in the corner. But it just reminds me of that. And yeah, I was watching it recently, and it was quite interesting to see Tyrus, or the Funkasaurus, as you may know him. With the title, I think that he's now on. I think he does like a Fox News program, or he's on some.
Yeah, he's on Gutfeld or whatever every night.
With him,
belts everywhere with them.
Yeah, we'll digress on NWA for now. We'll come back to it. So, Inside the Ropes is wonderful tours that you guys put on. As I say, I've been to many. I missed out on one of my favorites, which was Edge. I think he got moved. The dates got moved. I think it was.
Yeah, there was something.
That's right. Anyway, as we're going to get into now. So I think the interesting bit is, obviously, we just go to these events and we just meet the guys. We have a great load of fun. It's some of the stories that they tell are hilarious. What we don't see is the amount of effort that obviously Kenny McIntosh, yourselves, and even Molly, who's been to them. We had Molly on last week, and what a sweetheart she was. What goes on sort of backstage? It's not just as simple as this guy's coming here, here, and here. What's the mechanisms involved in the backstage part of actually organising these tours?
That's a really good question. In all fairness, Kenny is the leader of the ship. He is the ship's captain. He pretty much organises most of it. I know that obviously Ollie's involved with the tech side of things, and he will get the opening credits and everything else, all the little opening montages and things like that. Ollie's really heavily involved in that, as is Kenny. Louise does a lot of the kind of merch side of things and arranging for all the merch that's available, so helps with the t-shirt designs and getting posters and everything. Really, for me, I don't do a lot in the run-up to the show at all, other than promote it. I'll put the posts out, I'll social media the posts, and that's it. My main role is basically, once the tour starts, to make sure that the people that we're working with are able to get from A to B in time. They don't miss their flights, they don't miss their trains, they get fed when they want to get fed, they get checked in at their hotel rooms, everything that they need and want is there and waiting for them. The car's ready to go for them, so they're not hanging around. The meet and greet runs as smoothly as possible for them, as well as for the fans. And then during the show, I kind of get to sit back and enjoy the show, which is really, really nice for me. And then mostly after the show, when everyone else's job's finished, mine's still going, because I have to make sure they get back to where they need to be, or I have to drive halfway across the country at 2 o'clock in the morning. So in terms of the organisation, I personally don't have a lot of involvement in it, but I know there are a lot of cogs that are required to be well oiled and working in order for the shows to be a success.
They are great success as well. Who's been your favourite guest, Fiona, so far that the Inside the Ropes have had? Honestly, like Adam says, you've had some great, like you can choose more than one if you want, but obviously you've had some amazing talents over, like some of the like the biggest names in wrestling. Who's like, it might just be because of some of the stories they told, might be some interaction you guys have had with them backstage, but who's been your favorite so far?
I have really, really enjoyed working with both Edge and Goldust. They were probably my absolute favorites. They were so down to earth and so chilled, and would quite happily hang out with us. I'm not saying no one else did, but they would hang out with us. So in the green room, they'd be like, "No, don't you be in another room, come in here and hang out with me," sort of thing. So they were absolutely brilliant. Like Edge came on a train from London to Glasgow with us and things like that, and so that was fun. To work so closely with Paul Heyman was something else. We all went out for dinner on the tour on the first night with Paul, and he held court at that table, and you could have heard a pin drop. Like, everyone was just like, just listening to his stories. That was quite a surreal moment for me. I was kind of like, this is Paul Heyman. I'm having dinner with him, and he's telling me this, and this. So Paul Heyman was pretty special. I've loved all of them for different reasons, to be honest with you. We toured with JR and went to Ireland with him. And we've done quite a few shows with JR. We did a tour with JR, and then we did a couple of shows with JR and Conrad. But when we went to Ireland, Raphael Morphy from AEW, who's the VP of live events at AEW now, he had come along. I think he was JR's agent at the time. JR loves the movie The Quiet Man, so I managed to get him a tour of the village where The Quiet Man was filmed, and we got like a private walking tour around the village, and just to be able to do really, really nice things like that with people like that was fun. So JR's always got good stories. I've not got a bad thing to say about anyone, to be honest with you. It can be quite surreal for me, sitting in a car and looking in my rear view mirror and sitting in the seat behind me or whatever, like, oh.
Paul Heyman sitting in the seat behind you. That's incredible.
It's very strange.
Is there anyone that you would still like to get? You said you're a big Ric Flair fan. I don't have to tell us any future events coming up, but there must.
Listen,
there's
Kenny
still,
doesn't tell us in case we spill the beans. Never tells me until the last minute.
It's a bit like you never tell who's the guy that used to play Spider-Man. He gave away the pot to Endgame, and it was like, yeah, you don't tell me. Yeah, who is there anyone out there that you would really love to say, man, I'd love to get you? Like you mentioned Ric Flair earlier. There's still some. Honestly, especially now you've got people like John Cena who's come near the end of his wrestling career. He done like Wales Comic Con last year, and you've got people like that. And and if anyone's going to do that kind of thing, it's going to be inside the ropes. You're getting the Undertaker. But for you, as just a fan, is there anyone out there you're like, man, I'd love to have them in the back of the car, just hear some of their stories?
I've got one after. Yeah, I would, but go on for your answer.
No, that's really hard because there's quite a few people that I think would be brilliant on stage and have fabulous, fabulous shows. I'm with a lot of the fans on their view of this when I say Austin.
Oh, yes.
I would sell a kidney, Fiona. Take my money, have my kidney now.
I think you would be in a very large queue of kidney sellers.
That's how me and Adam met. We'll tell you. We can tell you that story in a minute. Stone Cold Steve Austin's story. But oh my god, yeah.
I think Austin would be great. I think Cena would be great. Who else? I think we could probably do more shows with previous guests, particularly when they've moved on. And I quite like the fact that we did. I quite like the fact that we did that with Jericho, because when we did the second shows with Jericho, he'd moved on to AEW, so that's a whole new story that he was able to tell. Honestly, there's so many people, but I honestly think Vince. I mean, really? Could you imagine Vince?
Could you imagine?
Could you imagine? That would just be.
Jeez, someone like CM Punk. Could you imagine?
Yeah, that would be pretty impressive.
That CM Punk
between his ROH time and his WWE time and his UFC time and then AEW, and there's so much that he could talk about. There's literally too many, to be honest with you. But
what about Bray Wyatt?
Oh.
I think he's got one of the most weird mind, but we're not weird, but interesting, creative mind. We've got Eric Rowan coming on in a Monday after Mania, and I just want to understand more
fabulous.
About. Oh yeah,
I recently did a show with him in December with British Championship Wrestling, so he was here with us for our No Blood No Sympathy show. You will have a wonderful conversation with him.
Great. I can't wait for that. I can't wait. Do you find, I mean, I don't know, maybe this is more of a question for Kenny than you, Fiona, but is there sometimes they come along and they say, right, we can't talk about X on this? Are they limited in that sense in some of the instances?
I'm not really aware of that. Again, I think that would be something you'd need to ask Kenny.
Yeah.
They very much will sit down before the show and say, okay, what's on the table, what's completely off the table, and then kind of just take it from there. The conversation flows organically. Kenny is just fabulous on the stage with them.
He is tremendous.
I love watching Kenny, particularly when people put him on the spot and he
I
cracks
tell you the one I
up and you
liked.
just
One of the stories that I wasn't there, but I've seen it on YouTube, and it's when Goldust told the story of him swinging his dick in Kenny's face. It kills me every time because it's one of the first times I've seen Kenny speechless.
he just corpse completely. Who else made Kenny corpse? Oh, Scott Steiner made Kenny corpse at one point as well. That was funny.
I would have loved that.
It doesn't happen very often, but when you get Kenny, you get him good. It's class. Sorry, Kenny.
Yeah, sorry, Kenny. Hope we're gonna get him. We will get him on one day.
He's got a podcast as well now, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just started a new podcast. I saw today.
He's a busy man.
He is a busy man. And what he's done for the just as a fan, and what he's done for the English wrestling fans, he should be in. If we ever have our Hall of Fame, he should be in it. I don't know.
Absolutely.
He should be one of the first people in it. But Fiona, you're obviously involved. We like to promote like independent wrestling on this show as well. We announced yesterday that we're doing something with Ignite Pro Wrestling. We're hosting an event down there in July. You're more than welcome to come down, Fiona. You're more than welcome to be our guest.
Summer holidays.
More than welcome to come down to London and join us. But you're involved in the independent scene. Just before you tell us how you are involved in the independent scene, what do you make of the independent market just in the UK? Because since I've started doing this podcast, and I've been looking into different promotions, and I've gone to like Ignite, and I've gone to Apex Wrestling, which is a promotion near where I live in Leighton Buzzard and Milton Keynes. I didn't realize it. Don't get me wrong. Maybe it's me being blinkered because I've been WWE fan my whole life, WWF, and now interested in AEW. The independent scene in the UK is some of the best wrestling shows I've seen. And I've been to some of the biggest events WWE do. How do you perceive the independent scene in the UK? Because wow, it is good.
It's thriving. I know there was an argument from a lot of people when NXT UK came along. Oh, it's taking all our talent. I actually, that they did take a lot of talent away, but it gave the opportunity to a lot of younger, fresher talent to grow and develop and shine, and some of them have just come out of this in such good light and are really, really making a name for themselves. Again, it's kind of like the bigger companies that we were talking about, your mainstays, with the independent scene in the UK. There's loads, and there's so much to choose from. As a wrestling fan, you can go and watch a more extreme hardcore show, or you can go watch a family friendly one, or you can go and watch an all-female show, or you can go and watch a Lucha Libre style show. I think it's brilliant right now. I don't think it's saturated. There is a lot. I do travel for shows sometimes. I don't travel as far as I used to just because I've been so busy, but I would travel down south for shows and things like that. There's always something going on, and I love it as a fan. You can pretty much any weekend of the year, you can go out there and find something, and I just think that's such a good thing for British wrestling.
Yeah, definitely. So go on, Ad, mate.
No, I was going to say, so in terms of in my view, the British independent scene is kind of like us. I think I used to see it back when I think AJ Styles was in TNA with Abyss, and I think there's a lot of the times where they do bring the bigger names over, and I think that kind of helps the talent. It did back then. I mean, I obviously watched AJ, Abyss, Christopher Daniels. They used to come over and do quite a lot of circuit. I had dinner with Steve Corino and his wife. I don't know if he's his wife now, or I don't know if he's,
I've got no idea.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I had them. We actually escorted them out of the building to one of those, even though we were just fans. We were just talking to them, and I remember I was in Doncaster for a show, and all of a sudden I'd walked into the door as Metallica was playing. The Sandman was standing in front of me with his beer in his hand and his fag and his stick. It's just like, what the hell? But I agree with the British wrestling scene. For me is probably bigger than I think what it's ever been, really. And I think it's better now that you do get a lot more chances for the British guys to shine. Not necessarily, let's pick one or two talents from America to come over and just give them that little boost and that little, bit of experience that they've got. But showcase what we've got, because it's great what we've got right at the minute.
Absolutely. I mean, there's room for bringing overseas talent, absolutely, and it will help elevate some companies and help elevate some of the wrestlers, but there is so much here that most promotions, I think, find that they don't need to.
Yeah,
exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of it's on Fight TV. You get a lot of the UK stuff on there, and it's great. And I know in the past ITV have tried it, and it hasn't quite. Why do you think it's never quite taken off as into like the ITV or the Skies or the BT Sports have got it? I mean, on Fight TV, like you say, or most weekends, I can go and watch a show this weekend. I can go and probably watch one any night of the week. Why do you think it hasn't? Is it just because we are so ingrained in the history of WWF growing up? Like you say, we all grew up with the Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage, Big Daddy. Are we still stereotyped with that? So when they do try like the things they tried on ITV, that was purely independent UK wrestling. Do you think that the kind of the stigma of what we've grown up with is it why it holds it back? We all see it as mainstream on Fight TV because we're all wrestling fans. But when they've tried to push it on the ITVs of this world, do you think that's why it's been held back a little bit?
I wonder if it's because we are all wrestling fans. We know what we like. We know what we like to watch, and wrestling's always been a bit of a joke to people who aren't fans. So to put it on mainstream TV, I think, and open it up to a wider audience, while you would hope that it would bring positivity and bring more people to the product, it's still exposing it to a lot of people who are like, what is this rubbish? Why are you watching predetermined fights? And I don't know if it'll ever work on mainstream TV. I would love it to. But I think with the internet and with YouTube and with Fight and everyone having access to all of this now, maybe there's not really a need for it to be on mainstream TV because YouTube's free. As long as you've got access to the internet and a phone or a laptop or a tablet, you can access it and you can pretty much find anything you want in terms of wrestling on there. So there's maybe not a need to it. I think for TV, production and stuff's probably really, really expensive. And for a lot of UK companies, it's maybe just out of their league as well.
My daughter pretty much spends her whole life on YouTube. So she, if I said to her, this is on ITV, she'll be like, I don't care, Dad. All her friends are watching it. So you are right. I mean, you can just pick up your phone now. Adam said, like, Andy, go and check NWA, boom. I was like, wow, the unbelievable amounts. You can type in any UK promotion. It's on there, and the access that we've got now to wrestling, like you said earlier, you can watch an independent show in America. You can just go on YouTube or Fight TV, or people are putting them on live on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter. The access now, like you said at the start of the show, I remember the days of ITV, Channel 4, BBC One. That was it. When Sky come along, and I was like, wrestling is on Sky. I was like, and then we still then had to wait till the Friday to watch Raw. And we had the week, and then they announced it. Raw was going live on a Monday. I was like, this is like amazing. And now I watch a lot of NFL, and we get the same content that all my friends in America do. So you are right.
You just have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch it.
Honestly, you'll see my Twitter during the football season. It's like most people are going to work, and I'm just like finished watching a game and then going to work. But Adam, I know we have a serious subject to talk about Fiona, and she is incredibly. A lot of people shy away from the subject. So let's fill us in on that, my friend.
Yeah, so obviously, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on was obviously Inside the Ropes, it was NWA, but you do a lot of posts around sobriety for you. Now, we linked it obviously with wrestling because we know wrestlers out there have had issues and have even passed away from issues such as sobriety or painkiller or an addiction as such. I've never been addicted. Andy, I don't think you've ever had an addiction, but I suppose from what you can tell us, because it's probably an amazing story with its ups and downs and a roller coaster, and probably every day is still a roller coaster for you in a sense. From having the problem to admitting, because that's a big thing, isn't it?
It's huge.
But you've got to admit you want to do it. Then there's obviously wanting to do it, but you kind of want to have to change for yourself and be a bit selfish more than changing for other people. I think, you could say, I want to do it for my kids, but realistically, you need to do it for yourself. And then it's that roller coaster, because some days are better than others. If you can, and if you want to, talk us through that stages, really.
No, so I like you said, I post on social media. I'm very open and honest about the whole situation. I always like to drink. I've liked to drink since I was a teenager. Down the woods with my pals underage with a bottle of Mary Down cider. So like the same as a lot of us. the society in UK revolves around alcohol. It does. Like, yeah, people might argue against it, but you want to go and see a pint? Let's go for a pint. Let's go and have a glass of wine. Let's go. So a lot of society revolves around alcohol. So I always had a drink. Like, I liked wine, I liked whiskey. I would do what most folk do and maybe overindulge at the weekends and wake up the next day and be like, oh my God, not again. And then the next weekend you do it again. COVID came along and we were stuck in the house. And what do? You have a drink, and then you'll have another one, and then you'll have another one. And before I knew it, I was drinking up to 2.5 bottles of wine a night, 7 nights a week.
Wow.
Getting up in the morning and going to work, driving to work. When if I'd been stopped, that would have been it. I need my car for my job. So, and it kind of like, my daughter's almost 20 now, but she would be like putting me to bed some nights, and the boys, my 2 younger boys, would be like trying to drag me out of bed in the morning, and I'd be like, ugh, just a mess. But that was my coping mechanism. There was other things going on in my personal life at the time as well, and that was my coping mechanism. You just came home at night and had a glass of wine, and that just flowed into another and another and another. It was probably about October, when I was 23, about October 2021. And I was at work, and my boss pulled me in and was kind of like, Fiona, I cannot cover for you anymore. You need to sort your act out. And I was like, what's the problem? Like, I knew I was drinking a lot, but I was kind of in denial at that point. But it was a nightly thing, and it wasn't just a glass of wine, and it wasn't just a bottle of wine.
Wow.
I wouldn't say necessarily that I needed it. I wasn't at that I need a drink and I need to have it. I wasn't that, but it was also I want it. So I would go to the supermarket, and that was one of my lowest points. It was like 2 days before payday, and we needed to get some food for the kids, and I had a £5 left, and that was it. And it's like food or wine. And I'm like, wine.
Jeez.
And you're like, okay. Then at that point, you're like, okay, you have a problem here. You need to do something about it. So when my boss pulled me aside and was like, I can't cover for you anymore. You need to sort yourself out. He's like, because your job's on the line. I was like, okay, I'll try. And that was the October. And I tried, and I lasted like a day, maybe. And I was like, that's basically, I can't be bothered. And then I spoke to a really, really close friend, probably about the November time, and kind of opened up to them and was like, look, I'm a bit scared now. And I couldn't actually talk to them. So I ended up writing a letter to them, and not an actual physical letter, but writing a letter to them on like notes on my phone and sending it to them that way, because I didn't really know how to express it. And it was like pages and pages. And it was just like, I don't know how to fix this. I'm a mess. I'm spiraling, and I don't know how to stop it. And I don't know if I want to stop it, but I need to do something. I'm scared for the kids. I'm scared for my job, all of that sort of thing. And then on the 1st of January, 2022, I woke up, and it's weird that it was never a resolution. It was never set. I never set out to have any New Year's resolutions. I don't believe in them. I've never set a New Year's resolution. But I woke up on the 1st of January and went to the beach, as I always do on January 1st. I always go for a beach walk. And I came home that night and I was like, I am not going to have a drink. And I didn't. And I woke up the next day and I was like, I'm not going to have a drink today either. And that was kind of the start of that whole journey of trying to sort my shit out, basically.
Wow. Is it still an everyday struggle, Fiona? Because obviously, like, people like yourself, never suffered with addiction or anything like that. I know people that have, and we see in the wrestling world we see many of our greats that you feel like you Eddie Guerrero, people like that. You hear that he was addicted to painkillers. You hear, you hear the terrible stories about Chris Benoit and what went on and everything like that. And there's so many wrestlers that have gone through. Shawn Michaels back in the day, addicted to painkillers. So it is all we can't. You can link it in to something that we love and we enjoy. But that is the dark side of wrestling. Not to quote a famous TV program. Is every day still like a battle for you, or as the days go on, does the battle get easier for you, but it's always in the back of your mind kind of thing?
It's always there. It's always there, but I didn't need it. I didn't feel like I wanted to drink today, so that's good. I had a pretty rough week at work, so that's been, the last couple of days have been quite a struggle for me. I have many good days in a row, and then I find that if something goes wrong, or my mental health is slipping a little bit, or my mood's slipping, it was my crutch, it was my go-to. It's always been my go-to. So if I'm having a bad day, then I kind of sit there and I can feel myself going, I was like, right, I need to go and do something else. And at that point, I'll put my jacket on and I'll go out for a walk, or I'll go to the beach, or I'll go and do some yoga, or I'll go and just do something to take my mind off it. But those days, thankfully, are getting further and further apart. But there are still times where I struggle. Particularly, I think I've withdrawn from my social life, sort of, to a degree, so that I don't put myself in a position where I'm going to be tempted to mess everything up, basically.
Yeah, no, it's hard. I mean, in the start of the year, I wanted to give up drinks, trying to get a little bit fitter. I'm trying to play in some charity football matches, and I get what you're saying there about the social life, because I was going out with my friends. They're like, "You having a pint, Andy?" I'm like, "No, I just have a Diet Coke." They're like, they look at you and
They
like,
do.
"Yeah, how can you come out and not have a drink?" To stop me doing it, sometimes I just take my car. I was like, "No, I've got my car outside. I can't drink."
It's a good excuse, and that's what I do now.
My local's only round the corner from my house, literally 5 minutes.
If you take the car and you've got the car keys, then
I've got my car keys, and I never drink.
Yeah, because drink driving's not the done thing, and everybody knows that, particularly our generation, it's been drummed into us. You do not have a pint and take the car. Even 1 pint, you don't take the car. You just don't do it.
Yeah. No, it's great that you can talk about, like you say, I follow you on social media and you're open and honest about it. What
I think it's important.
Yeah, greatly important, because the stigma around things like addiction and depression and stuff like that, and people don't talk and they're not open. And when someone like yourself, we all know you through wrestling and the work you do for Inside the Ropes. If one person can see you on social media, they're like, wow, Fiona's done this. You know what I mean? You could get, they might feel comfortable enough to DM you and just say, hi, I just need some advice. I need this.
That has happened.
That's going to be my next question. Have you had people reach out to you like you are? You're brilliant. You're open. You're honest about it on social media. And for all the bad in the world that social media plays, this is the very, very good side of it, that they can reach out to you and go, Fiona, I've seen what you've gone through. What advice can you give me? How do you go from where you were to where you are now and advise at the same time?
I think you have to be completely honest with people. Everyone's journey is different. And it's very much a case of saying, well, this worked for me, this didn't work for me, and encouraging people to go and kind of find their own path more than anything else. You can make suggestions to them, but ultimately they have to decide what's going to work for them themselves. Sometimes they just want someone to let off steam to. You'll see on all my tweets and all my Instagram posts, I use the hashtag recovery posse. And I use that because I came across that in my very, very early stages, and discovered a whole wealth of people and support. And the Recovery Posse family online on social media has been unbelievable. Like, I can't thank them enough. It's people I don't know dotted all around the world, and they have been so encouraging and so supportive. And I generally tend to point people towards that and be like, look, put that in your search engine on Twitter or whatever, and see what comes up, and you will find someone to talk to. You'll find professionals, but you'll find everyday people off the street who are fighting addictions to painkillers or drugs or alcohol or any number of things. And they're all covered under that one recovery posted hashtag. And it's just been amazing for me. So good.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And honestly, Fiona, it's so good that you are open, you're honest. Thank you so much for talking to us about it for a little bit. And honestly, we wish you every day, just keep doing what you're doing. I've never stopped. We're not going to sit here and proclaim to know what I'm talking about, but I know when I can see someone that's trying and doing so well and to go so long, you know what I mean? God, I'm down the pub 2 days, my mates having a go at me if I'm not having a beer. So it's tremendous what you've done. It's tremendous that you're open and honest about it on social media. We can all link it back to wrestling, and it is incredible. So just keep doing what you're doing, my friend. It's truly incredible.
Thank you.
No worries. Let's finish. Are you going to watch WrestleMania before it's coming up in a week? Are you excited? Me and Adam talk about our long-term booking is. I think it should be our slogan on this podcast. We love what's been going on with the bloodline. Are you a WrestleMania fan? Are you the fan of the 2 nights? Do you want it to go back to 1? Will you be watching? It's a lot of content. So like you say, it's 6 hours Saturday, 6 hours Sunday. Are you excited for WrestleMania?
Well, I actually am this year. Royal Rumble's my mania for me. Royal Rumble's my show. Like,
That's
I will
our
watch
show.
that no matter what. Royal Rumble's my baby. So I haven't watched an awful lot of WWE lately. I know kind of the ins and outs, but this year I'm quite excited because I am working with Hooked on Wrestling. So I am hosting the watch parties in Glasgow next weekend at Walkabout. So brilliant. I'm looking forward to that. I recently did the what was the last pay-per-view?
Elimination Chamber.
Elimination Chamber.
Was it? No.
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber and the Royal Rumble was before that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I did them last time as well. One was in one of the casinos and the other one was in Walkabout. To be in a room, so I watch wrestling by myself. I live at home alone with my 3 kids. They're not the biggest fans. Well, my middle son is. He'll watch it, but I tend to watch wrestling on my own, and that's quite sad actually.
Wrestling. I'll watch on my own. Fan.
Wrestling, not sad. I'm not like slagging it off, but it's sad in that wrestling is more fun when you watch it with your friends.
Yeah.
Much more fun when you watch it with your friends. So I am so excited to be in a room. I think we're like 300 people watching WrestleMania next weekend. I'm probably gonna have to do some homework on it and just double check what's going on.
Just listen to our podcast.
Yeah, we got you, Greg. Just listen to some episodes. We've got you.
So I'm really, really looking forward to it. I've been to 2 WrestleManias myself. I went to 34 and 35 in New Orleans and New York. They were fabulous. I cried when I walked into the stadium in New Orleans, which I can't say, Mercedes-Benz, the Dome, is it? Mercedes-Benz in
New Orleans Saints Stadium.
I cried when I walked in there because that's a bucket list big tick for me. Like, walk through the curtain and I was just like, oh my god!
I went to WrestleMania 21. I've been to 5 in total, but WrestleMania 21 was my first one, and I remember I wasn't even old enough to drink, but because I look old, I could drink. I know you're talking about
the bald head, mate. It's the bald head.
Bald head. Yeah, I had bald head at the time. And I remember walking through to my seat because we had the VIP section, so they were coming to us to serve food and drink. Well, to be honest, I got it from an American ticket agency at the time, but I remember just getting to my seat, and obviously I'd been to SummerSlam '92. Andy, we spoke about this yesterday. We'd been to SummerSlam. We'd been to events in the UK. But I don't think you can, and Andy, maybe when you go with the Rumble, you'll be able to do this with me in January next year when we go. It was just looking around and just, you kind of, in a really sad way, it feels like you've made it because you're there. And it was just take it in, look around and get that atmosphere it was building. I mean, we were not saying we were one of the first people sort of in the section that was there. There was people sort of around the building. You could hear all the woos going off like they do. And I suppose now it's yes or what or something along those lines. But it just sort of, and you saw the WrestleMania logo and your stage, and it was, and for me it was just, I was just literally looking around bit by bit, taking it all in, just actually think fuck yeah, I'm here.
It's so surreal. It was almost like an outer body experience for me, really. I was just like, holy shit. Like,
yeah, it's incredible.
It really is. It really, really is.
One of the entrances that got me, not necessarily a bit choked up a sense, but it got a bit emotional for me was The Undertaker. Even then, and that was there was no guarantee. It was just because seeing his entrance in the UK, you see it a lot. I just think it's different over there. I don't know if they turn off the aircon or if they do something, but like even The Undertaker, I think he had an interview recently and he was calling like the guy that done it a mark, because he was saying that when your music goes off, and there's a couple that do it for me. I mean, The Undertaker, I think it's because it takes him about an hour to get to the ring anyway. So you kind of sit in there while it all goes off. But it's just that whole, maybe it's because grew up with, you kind of feel as if you know him in a way, don't you? If you've grown up with him for so long.
He's so iconic.
Yeah,
so iconic.
It was that. I think Austin's one always gets me because sometimes it can be unexpected. Although you think
just hear that glass break, and
dude,
like,
I had that at Raw. I was at Raw in Orlando, and I was on holiday, and we went to see Orlando, and they were doing a segment. We knew Austin was in the building, and I was 19 at the time. It was the Attitude Era. We were like, Raw's on. I've watched it on the telly. So again, I walked into it. I was like, oh my god, I'm at Monday Night Raw, and I think Vince was doing a segment in the ring, and then the glass hit. I kid you not, I was a 19-year-old man who nearly cried. I was like, Stone Cold come marching down the ring. My mate who was on holiday with me, he's not a big wrestling fan. I've literally got him. I'm hugging him. I'm like, Stone Cold's right there, Stone Cold. He's like, all right, Andy, all right, mate. It's like, you haven't seen this excited. You don't get this excited ever. And I was like, but to explain it to a non-wrestling fan who was with me, I was like, I am at Monday Night Raw in America. In Orlando, there's Austin, there's Rock, there's Vince and Shane. They best when the Raw where they both took the double stunner off Austin, and I was just like, there was people in the car park in the parking lot afterwards, chugging beers off the back of these big cars, dropping stunners and and I was like, this is not even a WrestleMania. This was just a Monday Night Raw. So to experience, like, I can't wait to go to the Rumble. I want to go to wrestling. I keep saying
that's on my hit list.
It's on my list. Yeah, we're going for Adam's birthday in January.
My birthday isn't in January, but it's my.
We're going anyway.
So my birthday's in June, but I'm 40 next June, and it's like my girlfriend.
An early birthday present.
I said to my girlfriend, I said, that's what I want to do. I've done 5 WrestleManias. I'm not. For me, WrestleMania lost its magic when The Undertaker lost the streak. For me, it's never been the same, personally. And I'm not necessarily Undertaker's biggest fan. It's just there was always that mystique about it.
And 2 nights is a lot.
Oh,
and 2 nights is ridiculous.
Honestly,
the Rumble's the one. And because I've done SummerSlam, I'm not really bothered about Survivor Series. So out of the big events, I've done the ones.
Survivor Series too.
Yeah, I love Survivor
Series.
Team
Blue, Team SmackDown, always Team SmackDown.
I love Survivor Series because once Survivor Series gets you, you're kind of on the road. I mean, Royal Rumble.
And the other thing about WrestleMania is Kane's pyro, and he shit myself. There was 2 occasions when it happened, and one of them was in a house show. It was in Birmingham, and it was at the time when he was feuding with Matt Hardy and Lita, and I can't remember. It was a mixed tag. And Lita had come out, and obviously you're expecting Matt Hardy's music to go off. And this orange ball literally just shot up and it exploded. And I think that was close. And the other time was Monday Night Raw. I think it was the first Raw they'd done in Manchester, the first ever time they'd come over.
I went to that.
Storyline with Snitsky, and he cut a promo saying the only thing dead around here is your baby, and the whole crowd was like, oh yeah. And it was like a 4-way tag that was going on. So you're obviously watching the 4-way tag, and again it blew up, and I literally ducked for cover. It was just, and the only other time I've been done was SmackDown when I got caught with the pyro at the start.
Yeah.
We were sitting right by the stage. We actually got moved to the front, but where the stage was, and obviously bald head, fireworks have gone behind, sparks have come off. On me
bald head, fireworks, not good combination, mate. Not gonna lie. Fiona, it's been incredible to have you on our show. Honestly, we've been truly honored to sit down and just spend like 40 minutes talking. Tell our listeners where they can find you, what you've got coming up, where they can find you on Twitter, Great Twitter follow, by the way. I'm not going to give it away, but I'm just glad she's got her heating on now. If you need to know what I'm talking about, go and check Fiona's tweets from yesterday.
Gone.
Oh, you deleted it. Oh, Fiona. Now I won't explain it. That will remain our joke. I won't explain it. But just put it this way. Fiona got some heating on, and she showed us all that she had her heating on. It was good. But Fiona, tell us where they can find you on Twitter and what you've got coming up.
This is where I get confused, because my Twitter and my Instagram handles are very similar but not quite the same. So I'm actually just going to double check. So on Twitter, I am at Trixie Lex, and on Instagram, I am at Trixie_Lex. You can find me dotted about Scotland, emceeing and running around for companies such as BCW, PVW, W3L, and PWS. So a bit of emceeing, a bit of just general shenanigans, which is always good. I'll be at Hooked On next weekend in Glasgow Walkabout for WrestleMania, so come down to there. I'm sure there's still tickets left. I am in Motherwell tomorrow and Nairn on Saturday with PVW, and basically there's shows across Scotland over the next few weeks, so you'll find me at various corners of the country.
Well, Fiona, keep doing what you're doing, my friend. It's so good to sit down and chat some wrestling. I enjoy following you on social media. I think you're such a good Twitter follower, and you're heavily involved with Inside the Ropes, the independent scene. It's tremendous. So either me and Adam will try and get up to Scotland, or we will definitely catch you the next time you're down this way.
Absolutely, it'd be good to see you both.
Thank you so much, Adam. A pleasure as always, mate. What have we got coming up? I can't keep track, mate. I feel like I see you more than my wife and child. Are they near me?
Don't say that.
Yeah,
I don't get people talking. So Wednesday we return with Melina Perez, so 5-time Divas champion Melina Perez. Monday we've got Eric Redbeard. So the following Monday, the third after WrestleMania, we talk all things WrestleMania with Eric Rowan. We've got our sponsors that have got a show this weekend. Pro Wrestling Carnage have Macho Madness. I'm not going to do the Macho Man's voice.
No, okay, I won't try. No.
So like, oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So you've still got it, mate.
I've still got it. Yeah, I've never lost it. Obviously, Beers and Beatdowns will be there.
God, he's obsessed.
So we'll sort for that. So we wish them luck on Sunday. We'll get their results, and I'm sure we'll start having them on in future shows after WrestleMania. We've got Jurassic Pro Wrestling, who have got a show, White Rabbit. I always say nothing to do with the Bray Wyatt promos. They're going to be going on the 9th of April. We will be there for that. We shall. See them. We will get, Easter Sunday, yeah. We will get to see Pro Wrestling Carnage in Wales at some point. But Andy, you need to do the next one, because it's all about you. You've managed to sort this out. I know we've mentioned it, but...
we have, Fiona, like we said, you are more than welcome. July the 23rd, we are hosting kind of our own pay-per-view. We are Ignite Pro Wrestling, Ignite Wrestling Pro. We are sponsoring the entire event. So Hitting the Turnbuckle and Ignite have teamed up to put on a great show full of great UK independent wrestlers down in Bournemouth. July the 23rd, we're going to announce tickets for this probably at the end of next month. Grab your tickets, come down. Honestly, I've watched Ignite a couple of times. Great promotion. We're so pleased to be partnering up with CJ and all the gang down there. It's a tremendous family-friendly show. You can bring the kids if you just want to get your kids involved in wrestling. And, WWE isn't accessible for everyone. They're not over all the time. Money in the Bank is extraordinary money. Come and check out a UK independent show, and come and check out Ignite on July the 23rd. And hey, come and meet me and Adam. Come say hi. Come chat to us. Come chat to us.
Tick that off your bucket list.
Yeah, tick that off your list. Come and shine Adam's head or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, shine my head. Yeah, I'll bring the polish. Last thing, we mustn't forget, we sponsor Corey McRae. British wrestling independent wrestler who's going to be conquering Europe this year. He will be at Jurassic. He may even be at Ignite, because he's worked for Ignite as well. So we may have him on the show. And there will be another announcement about what we're doing with Ignite coming very soon.
Ooh, I can't wait.
It's really exciting.
Wait till we stop hitting record, Fiona. We'll tell you what that is.
Yeah, you'll get inside the scoop. Sorry, guys. It's guests only. So we'll be announcing that on the podcast, on our socials, very, very soon.
Yeah, no worries. Fiona, thank you so much. We really do appreciate you taking the time. We'll definitely catch up with you, whether it's in Scotland, inside the ropes. We will 100% catch up with you this year. Make sure you go and check us out on Twitter at HTT Buckle. Search for us on Facebook, Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. But we'll be back next week. Adam, pleasure as always. Fiona, thank you so much. This has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle Podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows, with the amazing Adam Cousins. Till next time, everybody, stay safe.